Welcome to the Onion Buns. So today I want to talk about Starfield the game. Now tons really, has already been said online about Starfield. And make no mistake here, much of the shame directed at it is very warranted and valid. Overall, it's a very meh game. But it has so much potential. You literally cannot enter that game and not see the amazing potential it has. But it somehow failed to achieve. And that's such a shame, honestly. So I watched a number of videos online talking all things Starfield. As I said, the mass majority of the complaints or criticism is legitimate, but maybe not entirely. My biggest issues with some of the complaints is context, and I'm not sure those complaining really understood that. I'm not sure a great many of them even understood what they were playing. They were expecting to be something it was never supposed to be. A vegan walks into a steakhouse and demands something not on the menu. That's not the steakhouse's fault. Starfield is first and foremost an RPG. Not a first-person shooter, not an action game, not No Man's Sky. I've actually lost count how many times I've seen people try to compare Starfield to No Man's Sky or Elite Dangerous. And a lot of it was before Starfield even pre-launched. So let me see if I can give you my take on the game. As I said, this game is not perfect, not even remotely. It has a ton of flaws and problems, and I'm not going to try and tell people differently, just to have an opposing hot take opinion. I'm not IGN with my latest Microsoft goodie bag for a 9 or a 10 out of 10 review score. The biggest issue or problem I see with Starfield is Bethesda utterly failing to meet its potential. And make no mistake, this game has amazing potential, and still does, honestly. I remember the first time I saw New Atlantis. I said to myself, oh my god, can you imagine Mass Effect Citadel designed like this? I literally had goosebumps on my arms. My imagination was running wild on the potential I was seeing. And then I spoke to an NPC, and to quote South Park, and it's gone. The writing was so meh. It just started game down a disappointing path. But yet the potential is still there. So let's focus on that, and let me throw my 2 cents in. 0.01 cents adjusted for inflation. So first off, the game is pretty. Until it's not. It's like Bethesda went out of their way to make certain aspects of the game dull, sanitized, boring, drab. And it's not just the environments. Dantix has some hilarious videos called Commander Shepard Plays Starfield but Probably Shouldn't. In his videos, the Mass Effect characters comment on how everyone is bland, plain, or just ugly. Oh, and the female characters all are not allowed to have breasts. And he's correct. Bethesda went out of their way to dumb everything down. Why? Well, my personal opinion is Bethesda pushed real-world modern special interest agendas, and that includes thou shall not sexualize women. One big issue with that, Starfield is a sci-fi game, and traditional sci-fi has always sexualized both men and women. Go look at John Carter, Warlord of Mars. Deja Thoris is an iconic beauty, and John Carter is most definitely eye candy for women out there. Look at Mass Effect trilogy, fuck Andromeda. Liara is a blue-skinned alien beauty. Her actual race uses and manipulates sexuality to advance their societal agendas. Miranda is most famous for her ass. Samara, best attributes are her breasts, which she shows plentiful. Star Trek, T'Pol or 7 of 9, 2 obvious examples. Barbarella. List goes on and on and on. Point is, exaggerated sexual eye candy is a staple of science fiction and fantasy. But now suddenly everyone is plain, dull, and generally unattractive. And yes, I do think this hurts Starfield overall. And let me be clear here. I'm not saying everyone has to be super anime model. But the companions need to stand out from the generic NPCs, and they really do not. Companion, NPC, everyone's just bland, dull, unattractive. Here's the issue. Gaming, fantasy, sci-fi is escapism, and exaggerated beauty is a part of that escapism. It's like the horrible black screen you get when you consummate your marriage. I thought I was back in junior high with how childish the entire thing was. Starfield is a rated M game. In fact, it's the most PG game, passing itself off as a mature game I've ever played. It's honestly baffling to me when you look at all the games that earn their M rating, like Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher 2 and 3, Conan Exiles. But that's nudity. However, we can look at Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. They don't have nudity. Well, not anymore anyway. Yet, make the romance and sex arcs amazing without resorting to go black screen. All these games handled romance, sex, mature content correctly. Starfield does not. In a nutshell, you raise one of 4 companions to ally, get married, rent a hotel room, click on the bed, and it's black screen. When you wake up, you hear such childish comments like, "Oh, did I wear you out?" Seriously, I'm almost 60 years old and I felt like I was back in junior high school. If you're not willing to do a certain style of content correctly, then don't do it at all. Leave it out of the game completely. But that is the writing. As I said before, the writing is very meh. It's all generic. You can't even be evil or neutral. Every choice but one doesn't matter. For a massive open world game, the writing is very linear. In my opinion, no RPG should be linear in this day and age. Starfield writers completely did not understand this. RPG players want choices. Great example would be Paragon or Renegade Shepherd in Mass Effect Trilogy. You still end up in the same spot, but how you get there to that spot matters. Then there's the outposts. How the hell did Bethesda screw that up? But they did. Bethesda had the massive success of Fallout 4 settlements. All Bethesda needed to do was copy-paste Fallout 4 settlements into Starfield. Slap on a sci-fi coat of paint, and you're golden. But that's not what they did. And I'm honestly stunned by that decision. Rather than building an alive and vibrant outpost, they limit you to 2 NPCs per outpost. And they do nothing, absolutely nothing, beyond a stat bonus. But outposts are really nothing more than just being about resource gathering anyway. Like the writing. It's dull and boring after the initial first experience. I really do not understand how they screwed that part up. Speaking of screw-ups, let me introduce you to shipbuilding. Now, I actually do like the spaceships in Starfield, and I even enjoy the space battles. But I hate the shipbuilding. Really, only thing I can compare it to is when I was trying to compile my C++ coding, only to see 10,000 errors because I missed a semicolon. Honestly, I gave up trying to build ships and just used pre-made ships, slap on a mod that ups the storage to 500,000, and move on. The biggest issue I had with the outpost and the ship design is a complete lack of tutorials explaining it all. So much of the design mechanics could have been avoided with a proper design mechanics tutorial. So I pointed out the main points of contention for me: writing, failure to live up to the potential, bland and boring landscapes, ugly NPCs and companions, childish romance, meaningless outposts, horrible shipbuilding, non-existent tutorials. And you can add beyond ugly casual clothing. Very few building maps reused, way too much, and limited weapon choices. Pretty long list. Yet I still say this game has amazing unrealized potential. So how would I fix it? I'm a big believer that if somebody does something correct, you expand on it and learn from it. Starfield offers nothing new, if we're being honest here. Everything in Starfield has been done before, just better. The first thing is force the writers to play games like Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Mass Effect Trilogy, Jade Empire, Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher 1, 2, 3, Dragon Age Origins. It seems to me the writers simply do not grasp how to craft likable companions and interesting NPCs that you develop emotional connections to, positive or negative. Emotional connection is the most important aspect of an RPG. Without it, nothing else matters, and your game is DOA. The above games I mentioned are all masterful examples on how those connections develop through writing. Next, I take the artistic designers and make them play Witcher 2 and 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Conan Exiles, so they see firsthand how to draw fictional characters, romantic imagery, and adult content. Because again, Starfield is the most PG-13 game that somehow got a mature rating that I've ever seen. Next, I'd have the stealth levels designers play Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided. As the stealth missions in Starfield simply do not come close to what they should have been. As I said, I'm a big believer you need to learn from others' successes and failures. And since Starfield doesn't actually add anything new, there is no excuse to not look at those that did it better before them. It doesn't strike me that Bethesda understood exactly what they were getting into and suffered a backlash for it. But after all that, I still think this franchise can be a massive success if Bethesda learned from its mistakes. In my heart, I'd love to see Mass Effect 1, 2, 3 done in this style of game. I really think Starfield needs aliens and to embrace the whole sci-fi concept. It's got a massive universe. It's got potential exploration. It's got star powers, aka biotics, aka Jedi powers. It's all there for Starfield to be the gold standard of sci-fi RPGs. Only thing standing in its way is Bethesda itself. Anyway, that's all I have on this topic. I hope you find my old man ramblings enjoyable, and maybe even got to rethink some bias on Starfield. If you liked this video, leave a like and a subscribe. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And feel free to drop a comment. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane that strongly if I dislike your comment. And as always, pew 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 and shit. Bye!